What's up, world? What's up, world? What's up, world? You know what? I have not figured out how to turn off that noise. If you guys hear like this notification noise behind the scenes, forgive me. I've had this MacBook for at least I don't know a year, and there's still things I don't know how to work. So if you know how to turn this notification off, the sound, and you hear it, let me know. Please message me. Okay. But hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Leader Set Trends with yours truly, Aisha Thomas. I'm so honored and blessed to be here with you another week. And I hope you all enjoyed last week's episode because I really want to recap and talk about that in detail. The thing about it is we consume so much information, but what happens a lot of times is that we don't take time to recap. We don't take time to just take in the information that we learned and really discuss like, okay, what are the lessons learned from this conversation? And that's what I want to do. I want to go back in, especially when they're guests, so we can pause and stop, right? And we can really discuss what we learned and what our takeaways were. But before we do that, make sure you like, share, subscribe. You know, some of you all watching this on my YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Just search Aisha Thomas, the number one. Yeah, by the time, and that's the thing, when you decide to have a business, you really have to, get some expertise because I would change a lot of things, when I started my business. But anyway, I digress. But make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you all are leaving those reviews. That is how I am my voice, right? And my videos are expanded elsewhere, right? And if you're watching from the YouTube channel, the YouTube space, maybe on my Facebook, make sure you leave a comment, right? Because again, I asked for help about turning these notifications off for these MacBooks. Okay. All right. Or is it an iMac? Whatever it's called. All right. I just know it's technology. But anyway, so first, how are you doing? Right. Last week's conversation was really powerful. It was, to me, it's like a mix of self-awareness, and then utilizing tools to help you really understand yourself in the variety of seasons that we're in. People might have certain biases when it comes to certain assessments. I like to refer to them as psychometric tools, I don't want to say cognitive tools, but they're more psychometric. They're behavioral assessments, right? It's just data and information that, again, also in the season that you're in, it allows you to get an understanding of yourself, which is extremely important. The more we can understand ourselves, the more that we can understand why we navigate the world the way that we do. Because the reality is, if we're not aware, your autopilot, right, which rules us, it basically is what is making the decision for you on a day-to-day. And if you haven't fed it the right things, if you aren't aware that certain triggers are happening, if you just aren't aware of certain blind spots, those blind spots are ruling your day-to-day. They are leaders. I had a great conversation with a leader who decided to invest on themselves, and they recognize, listen, I don't like to have difficult conversations. I don't like to have certain experiences because the result is this, right? And I related to them so much because we're a lot alike in a certain way, right? You know how sometimes they say, look at the glass half full. I look at it as half empty, right? And it's something that I really had to work on to pivot away from the pessimism. And sometimes you need that realist or someone that sees it on the opposite end in the room. But you also need that optimist side as well, especially if you are conditioned to see the negative in a lot of things, right? So you're going to noise again. If you heard it, I'm sorry. Okay. But again, okay. So before we get into it, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Thank you again to Stacy for taking her time to hop on last week's episode. Please, again, if you haven't watched it, please watch it because it connects to this. And while we talked about psychometric tools, one of the things that we discussed is this journey of, okay, when you realize that you need to work on yourself. Remember, I always say individuals don't typically quit the organization. They typically quit the leader. And that's why you need leadership development. And we have to realize that we have to constantly seek these great opportunities to grow and learn. I'm so excited. I invested in myself recently to take my development to the next level. And I'm excited that I'm getting to be a part of some great opportunities. Shout out to Sherry Riley. She has this book called Exponential Living. And there's so many nuggets in there that really allows you to understand and become aware of the things that high achievers are navigating, because we see individuals that are at that top 1%, right? Or individuals that are just, they stand out from the crowd because of the level of success they've been able to attain. However, success sometimes for individuals equals the bag, it equals all these external things. When we need to be seeking peace, we need to seek this intrinsic work, because the reality is there are a lot of depressed and sad people who have all the money in the world. Craig. I mean, they do, right? You might be like, who? Some people might be like, I don't get that. Who is Craig? But it's from a movie, so don't worry about it, right? Ask a friend, they'll tell you. So, but the reality is that there is a level of awareness that we need to have on ourselves so we can understand why we show up as leaders, right? And I have these conversations all the time, and sometimes we need that refresher. I know I have some new listeners, and even if I don't, when was the last time you did a check-in? Has it been a while since you've done an assessment? Have you been, or did you fall away from doing those self-assessment checks or self-awareness checks, self-management, the self-awareness checks will aid in you understanding and working through your self-management, right? Because how we respond to things, some of us might need to tweak, an area or two to make sure that we are responding in a certain way. So I just love these conversations because, one of the things that made me really connect to Stacey was the fact that her and I were talking about family. It was pretty much our children that made us realize, you know what? I need to do some work. I need to work on some things. I need to level up. And that's the beauty of children or friendships. They will make you like check yourself and you'd be like, you know what? I need to work on these areas, right? Like I did like this hair transition like years ago, and it was from my daughter. I was doing my hair. I had these long extensions in, honey. And she was just like, my beautiful brown baby who has locks in her hair was like, I wish I had hair like yours. And I'm thinking like, girl, this isn't even my hair. Right. And it's, it's okay. It's nothing wrong to how you want to accentuate, people wear the lashes, make their makeup look real well. However, I didn't want her at that age to define beauty as long hair. I wanted her to recognize that in her locks, the beautiful locks she has, how she specifically looks is good enough. And it made me do a self-check and say, am I just doing this to accentuate, to add some vavoom to how I show up, how I look? Or is it deeper? Is it because I feel like I won't look a certain way without it, or I won't look at myself in the mirror and believe in myself or think that I'm beautiful enough if I take these extensions out. So it just really started me on a journey of checking in and saying, listen, if I want her to understand her beauty is in her naturalness, I need to do the same. And I started this journey of cutting my hair, right? And now I'm used to it because it was a big change. I used to always have long hair. My mother was a hair stylist. My oldest sister became one. And now that I think about it, I was like the test dummy. She used to do all these hairstyles on me. Now in school, I always had a new hairstyle. I always had a new hairstyle. However, I didn't even realize I was doing a lot of hairstyles because I didn't accept who I was. So she started me on this journey of, okay, let me take a look at how I see myself. And it's so beautiful, again, how we will encounter people, might be our children, our family members, those that we're in relationships with, even personal, romantic, and so on, even professional. They will be the ones to allow us to recognize and have that aha moment, like, okay, I need to identify and look into why I really do these things, right? And that's the power of self-awareness. That is the power of it. That's getting out of our unconscious, right? That wiring that has been playing, right? That play, those stories have been playing on the back of your mind. And now you can step out and say, okay, why am I really doing this and showing up this way? What is it? We all have those moments. But the question is, leader, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Right? You're going to stay the same, or you're going to change. And although you might be uncomfortable with change, think about the benefits on the other side of it. If you decide to make that change, Think about how many people you're going to impact. Think about how much your business is going to grow, how your team is going to benefit. There is a output of positive outcomes that occur when you make the decision to become more aware, work on yourself, grow and develop. And self-awareness, like I was telling a client, self-awareness births people awareness, relational intelligence, EQ, emotional intelligence. So the more that we understand ourselves, the more it will impact how we lead and the different capacities we lead in, right? Because again, we lead personally, professionally, in the home, we lead ourselves because we're self-leaders first. So I want you to lead yourself to some awareness, right? And what was your takeaway from last week's episode? I hope you put that in the chat last week, but if not, make sure that you share that, post that, put it up somewhere, what you took away, right? And hashtag Leaders Set Trends podcast. All right. So let's go back to emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence, right? What is it? Let's really look at what EQ is and how it applies to awareness, right? It's being able to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions. And on the flip side is being able to recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. So it doesn't mean change how they feel, try to manipulate how they feel. But if you are aware of yourself and you become more aware of what's happening around you, you start to be aware of the people around you. So when that team member shows up and they're a bit ho-hum, they're a little bit down and out, you notice. And now a conversation with them, might be a little motivation speech. It might just be you being there so they can express themselves. Now this opens the door and births what? It births this change of how they are feeling in that moment. And that's the power of awareness, right? So, but first we have to start with us, right? We are first our own clients. We are our first team member, right? We practice on ourselves first, and we have to be able to pour into ourselves. And many of us out there too are focused so much on the outside and haven't taken time to work on the inside. So it's understanding, right? Recognizing and managing my emotions, how I show up, what my triggers are, what my pain points are, what areas I need to work on. And now, if we are going to lead, we're recognizing, understanding, and influencing individuals around us, because again, leadership is influence. We have to be more aware. We can't do one and not do the other. It doesn't really help. So leaders with high EQ tend to have a lot bigger and better results. So let's get you those results that you're looking for. All right. Man, this chat here is like booming. I want to kind of delete it because it keeps making noise. But anyway, let's keep on going. So why do psychometric tools help me, right? Help you, help we? Because it allows you to understand your external behaviors, right? And shape them. They shape how people see you. By knowing how I show up on the outside, it does shape how people see me. Now, again, we want to always look below the surface because, we can't judge people just from what we see on the outside. But now, right, it allows you to say, like, this information allows you to look below the surface and understand yourself and others, right? So your external behaviors do shape how people see you. And not everybody is going to take time and try to look beneath that, right? But as leaders, we can work on doing that. Your external behaviors shape how people communicate with you. Your external behaviors can impact your personal and professional lives, and your external behaviors can help you learn how to influence and connect with others. So by really taking a pause and understanding, okay, this is how I show up in these spaces. Now, okay, this is why I'm having this conflict, right? Or this is why I can't communicate with this individual or can communicate with this person, right? It can help you understand from the personal and the professional side, because again, we wear leadership hats in multiple capacities, right? And it can also allow you to learn how to influence and connect with others, because as leaders, it's about connections, it's about influence, it's about building a bridge. So we're constantly building some type of relationship, and if we want to be extremely successful in that, regardless if you're introvert or extrovert, you want to have an understanding of people and what's different about people. I can tell the style of all of my team members. I know what kind of engagement I'm going to get from them and how to show up for them, versus assuming that all of them want to be managed and led the same. Some of them like the celebration and putting their name out there. Some of them are a bit more low key, They don't need all of that. And that's okay. And I need to understand that because it might make them uncomfortable. They're working and growing as well. And then again, this allows me to understand why people see me a certain way and what I can do to remedy it. So that's the power of these psychometric tools, and using the right one, right, is extremely important. It's extremely important because, again, the simplicity of some of these is powerful because they have some of them that's a little too technical for me. Not saying that I can't interpret it, but it's like I'm thinking about the consumer or the person on the other side that's reviewing it. And I want to bring you something that's simplistic enough for you to understand why you show up the way you do. And we're going to connect the dots in our conversation, in our coaching session, in our group session. Why do you communicate or connect the way you do? So who and what does it reach, right? Personal, again, in the areas of your personal life, in the workforce, entrepreneurs and biz owners, teams and clients, pretty much anything related to relational intelligence. That's the reach of obtaining this information and understanding the power of it, right? And again, this is all wrapped around self-awareness because, again, in the conversation, we had those aha moments where we said, you know what, I'm aware of this now. How can I improve it? How can I improve it so I can improve the relationship between son and daughter, mom and dad, mother and daughter, whomever it is, team member and leader, team member to team member. This is going to improve those relationships. It's going to help build empathy, all the things that we need and these soft skills that we push to the side that, again, I always talk about COVID revealed to us that we really need. So make sure that you recognize the power of understanding yourself a bit further. So your tendencies. So the beautiful thing about this, because I'm specifically talking about the DISC. Again, we talked about that last week. You have the D, I, S, and the C. The D is how you tend to approach problems. The I is how you tend to approach people and engage and share your level of optimism and your creativity and those things, right? And communicate those things. The S is how your tendency of pace, right? Are you fast paced, or are you someone that likes to move at a steady pace, as far as maybe how you execute as far as your work, how you execute as far as, how you approach your day-to-day activities. And the C, that's how your tendency towards to procedures and protocols, quality control, right? Those are the quality-oriented person. And then you have, even for the D and the C, they're looking more from the aspect of, okay, not necessarily the people, where the I and the S, they're looking at it from a people-focused lens. So understanding where you land is extremely important. So this person here, what's standing out is this is a problem solver, right? They have that helicopter view. This is someone that is about, listen, if there's a problem, I'm going to solve it aggressively, and I'm going to go at it from a perspective of we are going to get it, right? That is what they're all about, is aggressively solving a problem. So that is something that they're great at. And again, this information can change depending on the season that you're in. I mean, you might be in a position where you are in that leadership role and say, or maybe you're someone that is that technician, that person behind the scenes, but hey, a leader stepped down, we really need your expertise. And now you're in that leadership role, and you might see shifts and changes in this data. Or say you have a loss in the family, and you're, again, typically the person that's people focused, people oriented, but now you have to do a lot of decision makings because maybe you are the surviving spouse, or maybe you are the eldest in the family, or maybe you're just in a position to be the one that has to make all those decisions. So during those big major life transitions, taking another one might allow you to understand why you're showing up that way in that season. So that's the power of this information. And this is just one page of many of good information that now allows an individual to understand themselves to another level. And when I talk about natural and adaptive, we have these tendencies of what we do naturally. Again, when we're not thinking, this is what our unconscious is doing. This is how we navigate the day-to-day without even thinking about it. Where you're adaptive, you're thinking about it. Right? If you're not a cake baker and you have to bake a cake, you are looking at that recipe and you're like, okay, I need this, I need that. But just imagine that item that you cook all the time. You probably don't even have to think about it. Just think about Big Mama. Think about that person in your family that just knows how to cook that pie, that cake. I don't know why I'm talking about desserts now. I'm like, Anyway, but that person that knows how to cook that meal in such an amazing way, they don't even need a cookbook. They just put it together, right? Again, that is the natural. But again, on the adaptive side, it's like, oh, I don't know how to make that cake like Big Mama or make that cake like so-and-so. So I'm going to need a little bit more. I'm going to take my time. So that's when you are really aware of your actions and behaviors. And sometimes we modify those behaviors depending on the rooms that we're in. And it's a lot of energy to do that too, because when you aren't being authentically who you are and you're showing up different, oh, it's an energy drain. It really is. So being aware of how I'm using my energy, am I showing up authentic? Am I adapting? All those things are important to know, especially when we're leaders and especially when we're in teams and interacting with others. And we have tendencies during a certain seasons, and understanding that to another perspective or from a microscopic, when you're really like looking at it from a deeper lens, it allows you to understand maybe why your communication, your engagement, your productivity, your activities look the way that it does. That's the power of these tools. So what's the approach, right? And there's some additional aspect, because the what, why, and the how is so powerful. Like how you think and make decisions, how are you motivated, and how that drives you, and what drives you, and how to utilize those talents and show up externally, show up authentically as you are. I love this example here at the end. You have all these white paper planes, but you have that one person, they're yellow, like they're different. Like, I'm not trying to be like the crowd. I'm going to be authentically as who I am. So understanding of the show up, right? How we can utilize this talent we have, and then also coupled with other talented individuals or gifted individuals, how we can really utilize that to execute on the things that we want to do. That is the power of it, right? How you show up will determine where you end up. Come on. How you show up will determine where you end up. So where are you? Do that inventory, ladies and gentlemen. Wait a second. Just had to take a quick pause because I wanted to check in with you. Has the information you received on this podcast, on the series of podcasts, or even the information that I provide right here, has it been beneficial to you in any way? And are you like, you know what, that's an area that is a blind spot, an area that I need to work on. It's something that I really need to pay attention to. Well, I want you to take a minute and do what? Schedule a consultation. Let's get you to that next level, because as leaders, the more growth and development that we invest within ourselves, it reaps benefits within our teams, within our organization, and ultimately is going to support that big mission that we have. Because remember, like I always say, individuals don't typically quit the organization. They typically quit the leader. They typically quit the culture. And if we want to be change makers, we want to be leaders who set trends, we have to grow and develop. So make sure you connect with me. You can email me at info@aishathomas.org, or you can go to my website, aishathomas.org, aishathomas.org, and schedule a consultation so we can get you to the level where people want to be connected to you versus move away. So go do it now. Don't wait any longer. Schedule that consultation now. Talk to you soon. How has your show up in fact impacted where you are today? Are you happy at where you are at as a leader? Have you done that feedback? Have you checked in to see how your team members are engaging with you? What have you done to do that check-in? I mean, that is so important. You need to understand and know, okay, how is my engagement? How am I doing in this season? That's super, super important to know, because the more that we understand that, the more we can say, okay, and again, couple it with psychometric tools. Now you are even, you're going into a more in-depth perspective, because sometimes we don't have all the answers. So utilizing something that, and these tools are awesome, right? But utilizing these things to allow us to understand why we do what we do, or giving us the language to understand, because again, we need to also recognize the language that we have been taught to describe how we show up. It might not be right? It might not have been the best. And again, a lot of the people who have taught us are teaching us based off of what they learned and what they know. right? So you might be like, what is this disc thing? Again, this back in the 1920s, William Marston, he's actually the one that also created Wonder Woman, right? And he utilized these same type of behavior styles as superpowers for Wonder Woman. But he also invented the lie detector machine, and he just really was into human behavior, why people respond the way they respond, why they do what they do. And now this has birthed, and now it birthed a tool that now, you know, and again, it evolved and it was tweaked by other smart people, right, that are into human behaviors. And now again, you have a tool that allows you to understand who you are. So think about it. If you think about that problem solver in the workplace, who is someone that when it's a problem, they're like aggressively attacking it, right? They're very direct, you know, and a lot of times people take that as, okay, what's your problem with me? And it has nothing to do with us personally. But again, their approach is about problem solving. So what do we need to do? Put all your feelings aside. Let's execute. However, that directness can cause conflict because you do have next to them, you know, someone that is about the people. You know, they might not be as organized, but they're really about the engagement of the people. Who is that? They're going to come in the morning. They're going to have probably 10 conversations with all 10 team members in there before they get to work, but they are fueled by that. They love interaction, right? They always probably have all kinds of great ideas, but putting that idea together and doing the day-to-day of the work, they might not really like that. However, there's benefits in having that person on the team. However, when it is time to work and focus, imagine that clash that could happen. Or that person that is a pacer, steady, slow. But just imagine if that problem solver is like, listen, we need to get this done right now, this time, this is the change we need. And they're like, whoa. I need some time to process this. You're just trying to push me a little too much, like chill out, right? And they're like, no, we need to get this done. Just imagine how that can affect that person that's a pacer, steady, calm, and now they're having to adapt at a fast pace, and they're just so uncomfortable because they like to, you know, make sure they check all the boxes and they do things right. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. But you're rushing me right now. Imagine that conflict. And then the quality control, the perfectionist. That's where I land. Right. I land in the non-people category, although I've learned how to master people interaction. But I am a D and a C, meaning I'm that problem solver and I like to solve problems with quality. So I like to do it right the first time. I notice like, okay, all the breakdowns, I analyze it, I'm going to process it. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. But my question asking, you might think that I'm questioning you. And it's like, no, I'm just asking questions so we can get it right. Because when I do this, I want it to be perfect. I want to do it right the first time. So I'm asking you 100 questions, not because of you. I'm asking it because of me, because I want to give you the best product ever. So having that person on the team before you turn in that project is very valuable because they're like, that's wrong. Or have we thought about this in X, Y, and Z? However, if you think that person is questioning you versus asking questions so they can provide the best product possible, because we want the best product. Just think about when you go to a restaurant. You went there last week and the meal was just amazing. And you go this week and you're like, what happened? Right? Why does it taste different? Who is the cook in the back? You want somebody, I want that quality. I want that experience that I had that one time. What happened? That's important. So quality is important. But again, it can clash if they notice like, okay, well, you don't want to dot the I's, you don't want to cross the T's, you want to turn this in sloppy. I don't want my name on it. Again, all these behavior styles can clash in a room, especially when you have people who, again, they exude those behaviors more. But if we are aware of this, okay, I know you're the quality control, so let me position you here. I know you're someone that's the pacer. We're going to position you here. I know you're someone that's the interactive. I know, okay, we need to be interactive and we need to connect. And you're not, trying to be lazy. You're just really you just love the connection of people and you like to get up and connect. And then you have the problem solver, right? The person that can make sure we stay on top of this deadline and get it done. All of those superpowers coming together. Now you see how Dr. Marston, why he was able to make Wonder Woman into the problem solver. She just knows how to like tap into one of these behavior styles when necessary. And just know, we have all of these styles within us and all of us. But again, for some of us, there are ones that just stand out more. And there are times when we adapt. My D is going to shine. My problem solving perspective is going to shine and come through when I'm in the workplace, when I'm serving and doing the military stuff. However, in my business, you're going to see something different. So recognizing when each one shows up, but I'm going to be tired, and then I'll be adaptive when it's time to train and interact with an audience. So tired because I've tapped into a side of me that is not the norm. But I know now I need to rest. I need to like remove myself from the group and refuel before I go back out again. So all of this is powerful for awareness. Oh, this is why my energy levels are so low. I get it. I've been in my adaptive all day. And now I'm taking it home. And now my family's looking at me like, you know what, just go to bed. I'm like, something's wrong with you. So, understanding those breakdowns or those gaps, those blind spots that will allow you, again, that self-awareness would allow you to make the modification, the changes that's necessary. And it's not about changing you. It's making you and helping you become more aware. And you might be like, where do I get this at? Reach out to me, right? info@aishathomas.org. Send me a message, DM. You can email me or go to my website, aishathomas.org, set up a consultation, and we'll talk about that a little further. Why? Because your team members need it, you need it, especially if it's been some time since you've taken it and you just want to have an understanding of where you land now. Maybe you're noticing there is a breakdown with your team and you just want to have an understanding of what's going on. Let's understand ourselves a little deeper. Let's look below the surface and really assess what's going on. But we first have to understand ourselves, and then we can see how we can now couple it to bring that team cohesion. And again, I want you to think about, what is your big goal? What do you want to achieve? If you want to achieve that big goal, you have to understand why you do what you do, right? Why you show up the way you show up, because having that understanding might be a game changer to you reaching that goal on target or even earlier. So why wait, leaders? Why wait on developing yourself? I've learned so many things about myself in the past 2 months, just from investing in myself to become more aware of areas that are still blind spots or areas that I need to just really grow in to help me take myself to the next level, or allow me to do relational management a lot better. So what's stopping you? It's going to always result to something beneficial and positive for you and in the other areas that you are supporting or leading in. So why wait, right? Individuals don't typically quit the organization. They typically quit the leader. And that's why you need leadership development. So again, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode, to give like a recap and a little bit deeper understanding of what we were talking about. The question now is, what are you going to do with the information? I always say, don't just be a consumer of information, make sure you apply it as well. What is that one step you're going to take? Is it reaching out to me and saying, you know what, let's connect, let's do this assessment, right? Let me get some deeper understanding. Let me bring it into my team. Let me just have an understanding. Or maybe let me just start with me, because again, we are first self-leaders. So we need to understand it at our level. And once we do, you might be like, you know what, I'm sold. I need to bring this to my whole staff. But what is that one step you can take towards being more self-aware? Is it journaling? Whatever it is, make sure you do it. All right. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, right? Leave a comment, leave a review, because it helps me connect with more of the leaders out there that need the support. So I appreciate you guys again for your consistency, for your support, right? The season is almost over, but don't worry. I'm going to take a short break, come back. And no worries, you'll see me on the pod web somewhere, somehow. I'm not going to say too much, but just make sure you check me out. Follow me on social media at Miss Aisha Thomas on all platforms. And again, on YouTube, just search for Aisha Thomas at the number 1. And you'll find my page where you can get more tools and resources to help you show up as a leader, right? Because it's not just about external development. It's about that intrinsic work, so we can be effective and great. So individuals will have that company loyalty, and they will really support us in pushing that mission and vision. You all have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.